Tell us a little bit about the formation of this film. How did it get birthed?
It actually started in April of 2006. I read an article in Atlantic Monthly that was about a guy who took care of the private hunting ground of the King of Afghanistan. And the article was written around a couple of years ago. And this guy is still living in this valley, still taking care of the king's, well, the animals are gone, but he's still taking care of the land, even though the king of Afghanistan was deposed, I think, in like 1976 or something like that. And this guy is still there, and I just thought, that's really kind of neat, that dedication. And it really reminded me a lot of Coleridge's poem, Kubla Khan. And just the garden and all the animals, and it was really, this very kind of Edenic world that is sort of, all the animals have died when the Soviets invaded in the 80s. A lot of things were killed off. And, so I just thought it was kind of a really great story, and it just sort of, it gestated into something quite different than that.
But it felt like, to me, I don't know about you all, it felt like a very personal film. It felt like there was a lot of you. I don't know you personally, but it just felt like it had a filmmaker's heart in it. Would you comment on that?
I think so. Although I don't know. There's a songwriter I really like named Laura Marling, and she very oftentimes puts personal feelings into her songs, but she really likes to write songs based. She had a song on her last album that was the Odyssey from Penelope's perspective. And she likes to take material that's not very personal and inject her own personality into it. And I think you're right to a certain extent, but it's not a movie about a filmmaker who's struggling to raise money to do a movie or anything like that. I think it's easiest to put your own emotions into something where it's not a high school poem to your girlfriend or something like that.
Before we take questions, would you introduce your
Yeah, absolutely. That gentleman with the camera right there is Larry Harbin, who was the gentleman in the bright blue shirt back there is DJ Economou, who was Michael Porlock. And sitting next to him is Terry Bennett, who played Larry's wife in the movie.
Questions?
So did anybody have a connection with that sort of lifestyle of a ranch or hunting? Or?
It's funny. I think that every male in the movie, with the exception of Amy Lynn's husband in the orange shirt at breakfast, was in the military, and so in terms of, I was really worried about the hunting scenes because you can cause a lot of bit of injury to people even with blanks and things like that. And everybody had handled the gun before. Larry, I wrote that scene where he's field dressing the rabbit into the movie, and we're kind of planning this all out, and I said, so Larry, do you know how to do this? And he said, oh yeah, I probably field dressed about 1,000 rabbits. I used to do it for extra money when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, fantastic. And so when we did that, I just kind of, bless her heart, my production designer, Denise O'Connor, that rabbit we got from a company that sells frogs and animals to high schools for dissection. And so when that arrived, it arrived in a cardboard box, wrapped in plastic, soaked in formaldehyde. Bless her heart, she shampooed the rabbit. I came back from filming one of the scenes, and she's out there with a blow dryer. And it's funny the things that you start caring about when you shoot a movie, but I got back from filming whatever we were doing, and I was like, that is the best shampoo blow dryer job I've seen in my entire life. And so we just kind of turned Larry loose, squirted a little bit of fake blood in there, and then every once once in a while I'd say, okay, so wait, stop what you're doing, let's film this part. But apart from the connections like that, I mean, I think a lot of people that were involved with the movie, and maybe you guys know more than I do, but I think tertiarily, just in terms of being around these kind of people, had a connection, but I don't know that anybody had a connection to this sort of going on, unless I'm mistaken. Larry?
Question?
Yeah.
Where'd you shoot it?
We shot it, if you draw a 2-hour circle around Austin, which is where I live, you hit about 4 or 5 points where we filmed it at. A town called Milano, which is where the deer hunting scene takes place. Walder, which is where the house and some of the other scenes take place. And the owner of the house, Gene Smith, actually died about 4 or 5 months after the filming ended, and but he couldn't have been more accommodating. And that location really, I mean, there's one shot where they're standing in front of the house, about to drive off, and the car drives off into the sunset. It makes my job a heck of a lot easier when you've got really pretty stuff and you just kind of, let's go there at sunset, and you guys stand and say some stuff, and it looks really pretty.
When did you end up shooting it on?
On the red.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was, we got a great deal from Andrew Bragdon, who was the owner of the camera. And when we did that quail hunting scene at the beginning of the movie, we had originally planned that he was just going to be standing stationary. And we did one take, and we're just standing there tossing quail up in the air, which is really fun. And one of them landed about 10, 15 feet away, and so we just told the actor, hey, why don't you just walk over there and, see what happens. And he walks over there, the quail flushes, bless his heart, he had the presence of mind to get off around. And that was really fortunate. We ended up doing a couple more takes, and we tossed one of the birds, and it corkscrews around, lands on the camera guy's jeans, and claws into his jeans, and he almost drops the camera. And when he drops the camera, it manages to find somehow the camera owner is standing right there, and it's pointing right at the owner of the camera, and we're all laughing it up, and he's standing there just going, and later that day, I was talking with Chris Roosh, the director of photography, and I was saying, Papa, when you almost dropped the camera earlier today, and he said, I didn't almost drop the camera earlier today. And I said, well, maybe you didn't almost drop the camera, but out of the entire day, that was the closest that the camera got to being dropped.
Well, we certainly would like to commend these actors.
Absolutely.
You three were just top-notch, beautiful stage presence, and created totally believable characters that we bought into from your first moment on screen. And the camera, the red one, loves all three of you.
Thank you.
And also Julia Lorenz, who wasn't here, but who played Amy Lynn, who goes into labor. Again, just kind of one of those, I think out of everyone we auditioned for the movie, I think we auditioned 3 times as many people for any other part as we did for that one. Because when she does that delivery scene, if she's not, if you don't buy that, it really is going to be to the detriment of the rest of the movie. And she did a fantastic job with that scene, with everything else.
Well, on behalf of RIFF, thank you very much for being here. Thank you all. Welcome to Rome, Georgia, and our great festival. And we have one more film in this block to watch, I believe. Is that correct? We have one more? Mm-hmm. And so enjoy. And these guys are going to be around. They are not shy. They will talk to you. So thank you very much.